Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably can guess, we're going to be reviewing, of course, WWE Evolve, featuring many talents from the WWE prospects, including wrestlers from the independents. But the main event features, of course, Kali Armstrong taking on Dani Luna. If you guys recall, those two were in fact tag team partners on day one from WWE Evolve when it's launched. However, they lost their match, and of course, Kali Armstrong decided to, of course, act like a chip on their shoulder. But we'll see how that rolls up. And as for now, we have AEW Dynamite. We enter the fallout after Dynasty. But the real question we ask ourselves: why did the Young Bucks interfere in the match with Swerve Strickland and Jon Moxley? So basically, there's a lot of answered questions. We also continue with more of the qualifying of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament featuring Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander. And then, of course, for the main event, the Opps, Samoa Joe and Hook, take on the Death Ridwrs, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli. And as always, we also cap up our episode with our news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events and promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever you want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, with all introductions been set aside, I believe it's time to go full speed ahead and start with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolved. It opened up, as you know, with Swipe Right, as you probably can, well, Swipe Right, I believe. As you all know, they recently lost their match against Fraxium in a non-title match. So, basically, as you know, they are not going to let this hold down on them. So, seems they got something cooking. So, we'll see what happens. Now, our first match of the night, we have Riley Osboune taking on Javier Bernal. Now, Javier, as you know, has not been in a great luck since his return to WWE after his injury. He lost, as you know, to Luca Cristofino in, of course, either in week 2 of WWE Evolve, but so far nothing. Now, of course, baby Javier Bernal might have been too confident in hopes to win the match, but however, Riley Osboune picked up the win when he applied, of course, the shooting star press, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. However, during the post-match comments, well, apparently they wanted to interview about what happened to him, but he had no words to say. So basically, he looked like he was a lost puppy. But we'll see what happens down the road for him. Now, in the VIP section with DC Hayes Jamison, who's been making her presence known, she was having a good seat to watch the next match. It was originally supposed to be Draco Knox versus Bryce Donovan, but however, of course, Swipe Right, consisting of Ricky Smokes, Brad Taylor, and along with Jackson Drake on Zeta Steel, were trying to do a little 4-on-1 action, but however, luckily, of course, we did see Ice Williams, Jack Cartwheel, and Cappuccino Jones stand up for Drake Knox, but however, Stevie Turner decided to turn this match into an 8-man tag team match. So basically, we have Bryce Donovan teaming up with Jackson Drake, Brad Taylor, and Ricky Smokes. They take on Drake Knox, Cappuccino Jones, Ice Williams, and Jack Cartwheel. Now, the match was pretty good, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there were some good spots on this one. Like, you couldn't tell if this was going to win, but however, who was going to win. But however, X Factor is, of course, Zeta Steel getting involved since she's associated with Swipe Right, and that kind of helped in their favor until, of course, Donovan applied the Black Hole Slam, which is a move that's been well recognized by a former TNA legend, The Abyss, and just like that, it was over. However, of course, they were given in post-match comments, but apparently they're being a bunch of dicks until they were confronted by Sean Legacy and Timothy Thatcher. Now, we don't know what's the extent between those two. It appears that, of course, they don't, of Swipe Right, Drake, and of course, Donovan are not liking this, but we'll see where that goes from there. Now, for the next match in the VIP section with DC Chantel Monroe, the match is between Kali Armstrong and Dani Palmer. Now, those who have saw the first episode of WWE Evolve a couple of weeks ago, you remember may have happened. If not, let me give you guys a recap. Kali Armstrong and Dani Luna were partners against Carly Bright and Kendall Gray, and unfortunately there was a miscue where Dani Palmer in fact did a moonsault right on top of Kali Armstrong, which was a miscue from her. However, Kali Armstrong took this like a bad omen, in a way, of bad luck. Basically, she's trying to prove that she's in another level. However, then we would try to reason with her in the face-to-face confrontation, but Kali Armstrong wasn't having it. However, Kali Armstrong was proven way too much for, of course, Dani Palmer, and just like that, she just pounced her. 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Kali Armstrong saying that there's no woman in the division can take her out, and she claims that the WWE Evolve women's division is hers. However, she was confronted by Chantel Monroe, Kendall Gray, and Brinley Reese. Basically, they're saying, "Oh hell no, bitch! You're not gonna claim this." But we'll see who's gonna be the actual queen running the WWE Evolve. That is something we're gonna have to wait and see down the road. But as of right now, we are finished with this and move on with our next and final review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. As you all many know, of course, that the ending was a bit more, and I pardon my language, a bit shitty how it ended. And of course, we entered a fallout ever since Dynasty. It opened up with Jon Moxley doing a little propaganda along with the Death Ridwrs. As you know, apparently they made some reference to the Opps after what they almost nearly cost. And all this other stuff, of course, with Jon Moxley doing that. But however, he has to deal with Katsuyori Shibata, who is in the ring. Now, of course, Katsuyori Shibata is one of the strongest wrestlers ever. But however, Jon Moxley proven his point that he is in fact the king, of course, but when he applied the chokehold. However, the Young Bucks showed up. Mox and Marina Shafir were like, hell no, we're out of here. But here's the main reason why the Bucks did what they did to Swerve. They felt that what they did was best for Hangman. As you all know, Hangman has been looking for a way to claw himself back into the AEW World Championship consistency, so they did it a favor. But however, Matt Jackson explained that, of course, he and that the Elite and the Death Riders are the same. As you know, the Death Riders have been, of course, talking about, how they don't like what the AEW has become, and so did the Bucks, but in their own way. But however, of course, the one thing they want is the AEW World title back in the hands of the Elite. So they tried to do a peace offering, but however, a figure from their past made his return to make a statement. Of course, Kenny hasn't forgotten what they did to him the last time, but he did make reference about Matt and of course Nick, calling them that they reminded him about a phrase that he put, like he had a friend back in Canada who had a pair of dogs, Shinzu, I think, and saying that over time those dogs were actually doing a little dookie around the apartment, and he feels that you guys, in my opinion, are those dogs. And of course, Nick did not like that. However, Kenny wanted to get a little payback for what they did to him, but of course, someone from his past as well, who has been his long-standing rival back in New Japan, decided to not let this happen, Kazuchika Okada, but however, someone who's not done with the Bucks, and that is, of course, Swerve Strickland, and showed up. But he made it clear before his match against Pac that is now Buck hunting season. So basically, he'll be hunting the Bucks for what they did to him in the in Dynasty. But however, Pac attacked him from behind, and of course, Pac is on the orders of Jon Moxley to take him out. But of course, Swerve was able to walk away with the win when he applied the Swerve Stomp, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, before their next match, of course, Ricochet decided to talk that he and his team, who he's teaming up with Beast Mortos, Action Andretti, and Lio Rush, known as the Crew, that he is the team captain. And everybody's like, what? So he thinks that he's going to win. But one thing I did notice, Tony Schiavone did say, imagine if they did win, Ricochet might have to take the $300,000 with him, and he gives the $100,000 to Leo, Action, and Beast Mortos to split up amongst themselves. And of course, probably that was the case. But however, of course, we have their opponents, Briscoe, Ospreay, and Kevin Knight, and of course, Speedball. Basically, they were talking about their match. Of course, Mark asked Will Ospreay that, okay, he said that if we win the $4,000 match, the $400,000 match, what we're going to spend it on. He tells Will, what do you want to do, Will? Disney World. Speedball said brand new shoes. Kevin Knight, Star City or something. And he decided to go, I'm going to have to redo my portfolio. What? But that doesn't matter. So basically, they were ready. Now, before the start of that match, we did see Hangman Page looking for Swerve. However, he run into Nana. Now, Nana, on the other hand, wanted to apologize to Hangman for what happened all those years ago. If you guys remember, Hangman's home was invaded by both Swerve and, of course, Nana. But Hangman was not want to hear it. So basically, there's a lot of wounds between those two. Now, we jump into that match, the $400,000 explosion. We have the Crew, Lio Rush, Action Andretti, along with Beast Mortos and the so-called Captain Ricochet, taking on Mark Briscoe, Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Will Ospreay. So, of course, it was going to be one heck of a match because it was going to be very, very impressive. However, of course, Ricochet tried to play the smart game, but it did not work in his favor. But luckily, it was Will Ospreay with the hidden blade onto Beast Mortos, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, they win. So basically, everybody gets a piece of the pie, $100,000. Now, the Hurt Syndicate, as you know, successfully defended their championship belts against the Learning Tree. However, their little celebration was cut short by MJF. As you know, MJF is determined to join the Hurt Syndicate, but however, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin don't trust him. I mean, yes, we have known who MJF is for the last couple years. He's not the kind of guy who you see all the time in a good team, but we'll see where that leads. Now, Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne have made a statement with Renee Paquette about, of course, the recent loss. However, Penelope Ford made it clear that, Toni Storm got lucky because she didn't completely take her out. But however, of course, you probably can guess that this is not over yet. But of course, they mentioned about Collision, so if Toni Storm is going to be there, that means that they're not officially done with her. Now, speaking of Toni Storm, she made her way straight to the commentary table to watch the next match of the Owen Hart Tournament in the women's side. We have Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander I don't think they ever faced each other before, but you can tell that this is an important match. Who was going to walk out to go to the next round? And I wasn't too sure either, but it was Chris Statlander with the Wednesday Night Fever that allowed her to proceed into the next round. Now, Don Callis, the snake in the grass, was hanging out with Fletcher and Takeshita. Apparently, he talked about the Owen Hart Tournament, claiming that one of those two will walk out as this year's winners. However, of course, the Alpha Takeshita will be taking on the Alpha in the turn. Takeshita will be taking on Brody King in the tournament. But however, he did mention due to certain wrestlers that are out of injury. We're talking about, of course, Brian Cage and Mark Davis. They are putting applications for brand new members, but the real question is who will join this little ridiculous team that Snake of the Grass Don Callis formed. Now, we did see Adam Cole, as you know, our current TNT champion, our brand new, talk about the years and, of course, the last 2 years of his life where he was dealing with his own health issues, but he's back. But however, he made it clear that the Undisputed Kingdom is no more. Now, I have asked myself what happened to Bennett and Taven. Recently, we've been seeing them um, at the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. We don't know if that's permanent for them, but they decide to rename themselves as the Paragon. So basically, is Cole, Strong, and O'Reilly as a team. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, of course, Chris Jericho, as you know, he is not happy with the results of what happened, losing the ROH World title to Bandito with the help of Bandito's family, his brother, his sister, and of course, his mom. And of course, Big Bill and Brian Keith, as you probably know, they were unsuccessful. What happened not winning the tag team belts, but it seems like they had enough with Chris Jericho. So basically, the learning tree has fallen apart. So that's how it ended with there. And then Jericho just walked off and left by a chauffeur out of the arena. Now, our main event is the Death Ridwrs, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli taking on the Opps, Hook and Samoa Joe. I have to say the match was pretty good. There was the moments with Hook when he did the nope, so basically that helped. But however, we did see, of course, Jon Moxley attempting to help, of course, members of Death Ridwrs, but luckily Shibata took care of that. And then, of course, Hook put Wheeler Yuta in the red rum, and just like that, he tapped out. But unfortunately, Marina Shafir showed up and attacked Samoa Joe. They decided to dismantle Hook. But however, Samoa Joe made it clear that if these guys are tough and they're, in his mind, they're a bunch of cowards, and he's referring them as the Dick Riders. Basically, they're running like cowards. But now they issue the challenge for the AEW World Trios belts. That's going to be a good one. I would love to see that. So that's pretty much it what happened in AEW Dynamite. So let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin as always with GCW with our upcoming events. As you know, GCW will be hosting the tournament on the 16th of April in Las Vegas for the ID Championship Tournament. There is an opening match. Almost. The opening round, as we speak, we have Ice Williams versus Aaron Roberts. I don't know who this guy is, but yeah. But there is a special attraction match. This one was reported. If you guys know this person, Izzy Moreno, as you know, she is a diehard fan, now becoming wrestler. She's been making headways with Thunder Rosa's promotion, Mission Pro Wrestling. She wants to be part of the WWE prospect. However, WWE said that they're willing to give her an opportunity if she faces one of their talents, and that is, of course, Sarah Zucker. So we'll see how things will go from there. Then, of course, GCW has the Bloodsport event in Las Vegas on the 17th of April. This one was announced. Josh Barnett will take on Gabe Kidd. So that's going to be one hell of a match. And then finally, on the 18th of April in Las Vegas, the Joey Janela Spring Break, the GCW Tag Team belt will be on the line. Unfortunately, Alec Price will defend the belt with a mystery partner, taking on the former champions, Violence is Forever, Kevin Koo and Dominic Guarini. Now, more events has been announced for the Las Vegas shows. Uh, Bangerzo Wrestling, the French promotion with Viva Las Vegas, will take place on the 17th. There's a fatal five-way match taking place. We have Ultima Sombra versus Kuro versus Gravity versus LJ Clary versus Ariel Van Gogh. Then, of course, we have Spark Joshi Puroesu of America with Lady Luck on the 17th in Las Vegas as well. They announced Jocelyn Navarro also participating. Then we have, of course, Deadlock Pro Wrestling with title fight in Vegas on the 18th of April. We have Masha Slamovich teaming up with Queen Aminata. They take on Magenta, Maria, and Riko Kawahara. So that's going to be one hell of a match that I will enjoy. Now, of course, now we jump in outside of the Las Vegas shows, outside of the non-Las Vegas shows. As you know, DPW will be doing a 2-day show in Japan for Spirit Rising. Night 1, they announced on the 24th of April. We have LeBron Kozo teaming up with Calvin Tankman. They take on Chris Brooks in Hiroshima. Now on night 2, on the 25th, we have Kazuda Iguchi teaming up with Yuki Ishida, taking on Calvin Tankman and Kazuma Sumi. Now, there is a match that was announced, but this one is probably may or may not be a title match. Dani Luna versus Rina Yamashita. However, Dani Luna will be defended the women's title the following day against Rika Tatsumi. Now, if she wins the match, she will defend the belt against Rina Yamashita. So basically, hopefully she does come out of it alive. Now, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling with Northern Rising on the 10th of April. They announced another name for the 20-man gauntlet match for the championship. Josh Alexander will be participating. Now we have Singapore Pro Wrestling with their upcoming event on the 30th of May, Mayhem. The Singapore Wrestling Queen of Asia Championship will be defended. Yuki Kamifuku, who is from Tokyo Pro Wrestling, will defend her belt against the former champion who she defeated the belt for, Alexis Lee. However, a stipulation has been added. If Alexis Lee does not successfully win this belt, if she loses, she will retire early. So hopefully things will go her way. Kitsune Women's Wrestling has announced for the San Diego event on the 7th of June. The first match have been announced. We have Brooke Havoc versus Tai Hamna. Now I am looking forward to see this one, so hopefully I get in time to see it. Now, Tokyo Pro Wrestling has announced that they'll be doing a 2-day event in the state of Texas. The first one is going to be on the 10th of July in Houston, and then another one on the 13th of July in Dallas. And then finally, German Promotion, they will have their upcoming event in September between the 26th and 28th of September with Pro Wrestling Grand Prix, and 2 names have been mentioned, and these guys are coming from all the way from Japan, most specifically Dragon Gate. We have Dragon Kid and Dragon Dia. So practically that's how it goes. Now, we continue with more names added, of course, with WrestleCon. As you know, I made a news update about names. However, another name has been added. We have Chigusa Nagayo. Many of you know who she is. She is the founder of Marvelous. She'll be doing a rare signing on the 19th and 20th of April. So if any of my subscribers are big fans of her, so this is your chance to go see her. So this is a rare sighting. Now on to developments. I want to give condolences to, of course, former GCW World Champion and legend Nick Gage. Many of you may have heard that his wife, Sandra Culbertson, has passed away, which is very sad. I have seen her in some documents with talking about Nick, and of course we haven't seen him for quite some time, but yes. So my thoughts and prayers go to Nick, his friends, his family, of course Sandra's family as well and friends. So my thoughts are to you guys. Now, Wrestling Observer has reported former WWE and former TNA employee named Josh Matthews. Many of you may know him. He was recently released from TNA, and he also is the real-life husband of Madison Rayne, who is currently working with AEW. However, Wrestling Observer reports that he's been starting working with AEW in the backstage area in this current AEW Dynamite show that just recently was out. However, there were some fans that have been chanting when they heard his name. Well, they said don't do it, so they don't feel too keen on the idea of having Josh Matthews be part of it. So tell me, guys, do you think this was a smart move from AEW to have him? I don't know. I mean, it's great that Josh Matthews, in my opinion, will be there, not only because he's a good worker, but at the same time be there with his wife. I'm sure it was not easy for him not being close to her. So that's what I would say. Now, for any of my subscribers who are big fans of Queen Aminata and you guys have been looking forward to see her in the Marvelous show in Las Vegas on the 17th, unfortunately, due to beyond their control, she's unable to participate on the show on the 17th. So they apologize to the fans and they hope they continue their support. I mean, they said this is about contracting, I'm not sure, but yes. Um, as you know, Stardom rookie Ane Kanae recently was injured during practice and she will miss out on the Osaka event, which will be happening in a matter of hours. So we'll stick to that. For any of Mina Shirakawa fan base out there, many of you may not know this or not. Well, Mina used to have a YouTube channel. Well, she hasn't been using it since she's been going full time with Stardom. I have seen the channel before. However, she just made it clear that she's going to restart the YouTube channel. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things you probably want to see. Her transition from, of course, coming from Stardom all the way to EAW. Hopefully, we can see that. Now, our final development is coming from the Fightful Select Report, as I call it. Two things. Kevin Knight, as you know, he is currently now All Elite. He also has a deal with New Japan, so basically he'll be going back and forth with New Japan. I mean, I believe he will be participating, I think, in the best of the Super Juniors. I'm not sure, but we'll see. And Gunther, as you know, has recently signed a new deal with WWE, and part of the deal, he gets his own tour bus. So that's pretty sick of him. So that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. So as of right now, let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, our top priority is Ring of Honor and TNA. So that's going to be our main focus. However, I'm behind with two of the Choco Pro events. West Coast Pro. No, not West Coast Pro. I mean, WXW. There's still some events I haven't seen yet. And then, of course, there's the recent Marvelous show and the recent Mighty Gold event. So I don't know how that's going to work out for me. However, certain days for the next couple of weeks, I may have to keep it shorter due to my obligations, due to my part at having a part-time job. So I may have to cut short like this one. But we'll see how things will progress. So that's pretty much it. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.